A young traveler journeys across deserts and empires, revealing cultures and wonders unknown to his homeland. His name was Marco Polo, a Venetian merchant whose odyssey would redefine the very map of the known world for an entire continent. In an age when Europe was a mosaic of rival kingdoms, largely cloistered from the sprawling civilizations of the East, Marco's story was not merely one of travel. It was a saga of discovery that bridged worlds, a testament to human curiosity and endurance. He was not a conqueror, nor a king, but a humble observer whose eyes would witness marvels that his countrymen could scarcely comprehend, let alone believe. His journey began in the bustling port city of Venice, a gateway between East and West, yet even this nexus of trade could not prepare him for the sheer scale and sophistication of the lands that lay beyond the horizon. He was just a boy of 17 when he set out with his father Niccolò and his uncle Maffeo, on a quest that would last for 24 years. A journey that would etch his name into the annals of history forever. The path they followed was not a simple, charted course, but a perilous trek across some of the most formidable landscapes on Earth. Their route, later known as the Silk Road, was a network of arteries that pulsed with commerce, ideas, and danger. They traversed the sun-scorched deserts of Persia, where the heat shimmered above endless dunes and ancient cities rose like mirages from the sand. They climbed the treacherous Pamir Mountains, a range so high and forbidding that they called it the roof of the world, where the air grew thin and the cold bit deep into their bones. Each step was a battle against the elements, a test of their resolve. They navigated through lands plagued by bandits, navigated the complex politics of local khanates, and faced the constant threat of sickness and starvation. Yet, for every hardship, there was a revelation. In the markets of Acre and Tabriz, they saw goods and heard languages that were entirely new. They observed customs and religions, from Nestorian Christians to secluded Zoroastrian communities, each adding a new layer to their understanding of the world's immense diversity. This was not a journey for the faint of heart. It was an education in the raw, unfiltered reality of a world far larger and more complex than any European map had ever dared to depict. After years of relentless travel, the Polos finally arrived at their destination, the magnificent court of Kublai Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan and the supreme ruler of the vast Mongol Empire. The world they entered was one of unparalleled power and They reached the summer palace at Chengdu, a place of such legendary splendor that it would later inspire the poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge's vision of Xanadu. Here, Marco was presented to the great Khan, a ruler whose domain stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Black Sea, encompassing all of China, much of Central Asia, and parts of Eastern Europe. Kublai Khan, a man of great intelligence and curiosity, was immediately impressed by the young Venetian. He was intrigued not just by Marco's tales of the distant West, but by his keen observational skills, his quick mind, and his aptitude for languages. While Niccolò and Maffeo were respected as merchants, Marco was seen as something more, a window into another world, and a potential tool for the administration of the Khan's sprawling empire. For the next 17 years, Marco Polo did not merely reside in China. He became an integral part of Kublai Khan's court and administration. The Khan, recognizing Marco's unique perspective as an outsider, appointed him as a special emissary. In this role, Marco traveled to the farthest corners of the Mongol domain, two regions that even many of the Khan's own officials had never seen. He journeyed through the provinces of Cathay, northern China, and Manzi, southern China, witnessing cities that dwarfed Venice, Paris, and London in both size and sophistication. He described the grand metropolis of Kansai, modern Hangzhou, with its 12,000 stone bridges, bustling canals, and luxurious baths, a city so advanced it seemed to belong to another century. He documented the empire's innovative use of paper currency, a concept utterly alien to a Europe still reliant on cumbersome metal coins. He observed the efficient imperial postal system, with its network of relay stations and swift messengers that could cover vast distances in days. He saw the production of silk, porcelain, and spices on an industrial scale. He even reported on the use of coal black stones that burned like wood, a fuel source that was virtually unknown in the West. Marco was more than a guest. He was an ethnographer, an economist, and a geographer, diligently recording every detail of this highly advanced civilization. Marco's accounts were filled with wonders that strained the credulity of his future European audience. He described palaces whose roofs were tiled in pure gold, vast hunting expeditions involving thousands of men and trained cheetahs, and the intricate social structures that governed this immense population. He detailed the military might of the Mongol armies and the administrative genius required to govern such a diverse empire. He also ventured beyond China's borders on missions for the Khan, possibly traveling as far as modern-day Vietnam, Burma, and even the coast of India. He spoke of the island of Chipangu, Japan, a land he never visited but heard was rich in gold, sparking a legend that would captivate European explorers for centuries, including Christopher Columbus. He wrote of the exotic animals he encountered, such as crocodiles, which he called giant serpents, rhinoceroses, and the striped felines of the royal menagerie. His observations were not limited to the grand and spectacular. He also noted the daily life of the people, their foods, their religious practices, from the idol-worshipping Buddhists to the various other faiths. Under Mongol rule and their unique social customs, for nearly 2 decades, Marco Polo lived a life of extraordinary privilege and access, a European eye in the heart of the world's greatest empire. The time eventually came for the Polos to return home. An aging Kublai Khan was reluctant to let his favored Venetian leave, but an opportunity arose that he could not refuse. A Mongol princess, Kikichin, was to be sent by sea to Persia to marry a ruler there, and the Polos, with their maritime experience, were deemed the perfect escorts for this perilous voyage. This final leg of their journey was as fraught with danger as their overland arrival. They set sail from the port of Chuanzhou with a fleet of 14 ships and a retinue of 600 people. The 2-year sea voyage took them through the South China Sea, across the Indian Ocean, and finally to the Persian Gulf. It was a grueling odyssey marked by storms, disease, and immense loss. Of the 600 who started the journey, only a handful, including the Polos and the princess, survived. Despite the hardship, this maritime route exposed Marco to yet more wonders. The spice-rich islands of Sumatra, the pearl divers of Ceylon, Sri Lanka, and the bustling port cities along the Malabar coast of India. When Marco Polo finally returned to Venice in 1295, after 24 years away, he was a man transformed. He had left as a boy and returned as a middle-aged stranger, fluent in languages his neighbors had never heard, and possessing knowledge of a world they could not imagine. Initially, his own family did not recognize him, and his stories of golden palaces, paper money, and burning black stones were met with disbelief and ridicule. He was nicknamed Il Milione, the man of 1,000,000 lies, as his fellow Venetians found his tales to be nothing more than fantastical exaggerations. His fortune was sealed when, a few years after his return, he was captured during a naval conflict between Venice and its rival, Genoa. It was in a Genoese prison that he met a writer of romances named Rustichello da Pisa. To pass the time, Marco dictated the story of his travels, and Rustichello wrote it down, creating the book that would become known as Asterisk, The Travels of Marco Polo Asterisk. The book was a sensation, copied by hand and translated into numerous languages, spreading across Europe like wildfire. While many read it as a work of fiction, a fantastic adventure story, others, geographers, merchants, and future explorers, saw it as a vital, if flawed, guide to the East. It provided the first comprehensive look at China and Central Asia for a European audience, offering a tantalizing glimpse of immense wealth and opportunity. A young traveler journeys across deserts and empires, revealing cultures and wonders unknown to his homeland.